Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lucore Automotive. Today we're on a little bit of a field trip. We are checking on a long-term project we've been working on, the Lotus Esprit Resurrection project. It's been a long time since we updated you on anything about it. After we separated the body from the chassis, it's kind of disappeared. But today we're going to clue you in on exactly what's going on, where it is, what's happening. Now, we've joked a lot of times around the shop about the fact that we do literally everything there is to do with cars other than paint and body. The reason for that is we're kind of messy people, and painting requires a really clean facility. Fortunately for us, we have some friends that do that. Right down the street from us is True Performance. These guys specialize in high-end European auto painting. Not just European auto, but they really do a lot of European auto. So we are going to be running into their paint shop here real quick. We're going to see one of their guys lay down some beautiful amethyst paint on this thing. If you're interested, stay tuned. This ought to be interesting. Well, looky, looky, looky. She actually looks a lot better even just in primer than she did when she was in the shop. If you watched the previous videos when we were beginning the disassembly process of this car, it was in really, really rough shape. This vehicle actually sat baking in the Florida sun for like a decade, and that did not do it any favors. Basically, all of the paint was just fried and wasted. The only thing that wasn't fried and wasted was a little bit of paint underneath the wings. This is a mid-wing car, so it's kind of a unique vehicle. They didn't really make many of these. So it's going to be pretty cool once it's done. Now we've got all the doors and the new wing back here, right there. All of the little bits have already been painted. So today is just going to be throwing paint on the big stuff. We're going to be shooting, obviously, with a standstill camera, so we can give you the big wide shot. And then I'll be floating around in the bay, shooting as we go, which should be fun. Now, I was talking to Bear just a little bit ago here at True Performance, and he was saying that it's probably going to be a pretty much all-day paint job. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning right now, so we're going to lay down a bunch of coats of paint, and then he's going to do the cleaning and sanding and make sure all the other imperfections are done, and then go back through and lay more paint down, and then lay a sealer down, and then lay clear coat down. So this is going to be a long, long process, but at the beginning of the day, it looks like that. At the end of the day, it's going to look a whole lot prettier. As I said, we're actually going to be using an amethyst color. This is actually a black amethyst, which is similar to like the McLaren P1 paint job. If you've ever seen that really beautiful dark black that changes to purple, that's what this thing is going to be. And it's got a really great set of wheels that are going to be going with it. This thing's going to be awesome once it's finally done. Now, one thing that's kind of weird is you don't really ever see anybody do Lotus projects. Nobody really goes anywhere near as crazy as this is, and there's a reason for that. We've probably got 100 hours in disassembling this car, getting the chassis off the body. 100 hours. Everything you've got to take out of this thing, the interior, all the suspension, everything's come out of this car. There's basically nothing left in that thing, but those bolts have been in there for a long time. Those screws have been in there for a long time. They don't really want to let go. So it was a huge process just to get to this point. And we got to paint it, and then we got to put it all back together again. We still haven't even begun all the other stuff we got to show you guys. We got to do engine, we got to do brakes, we got to do suspension, we got to do all of it, building a whole car. It's a lot of work and a lot of time. This is going to be like a 2-year process. We've already been almost a year into it, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get scrubbed in so I can go into the paint booth, and we're going to get started laying some paint. I'm excited.
Yeah. Next up, the sealer.
see, we got first layer going down. This is a multi-step process for sure, but it's very cool to see this thing finally changing colors. And yes, he is in the engine bay in the back of the car. This is why you take the whole car apart in order to paint this thing correctly. There you go. First layer down.
First layer down.
Hopefully you can hear me. Second layer of paint's been laid down. Not this secure. Doesn't take real long when you're in the booth here. So this guy is nicely done so far. Finally got some nice looking black. Doors are done. All the big parts are done today. Most of the small parts were done yesterday. So time to let this thing cure. Move on to more. Over and over and over again. Long process. Alright, so first layer of color is dried. Time to move on to second layer of color. A lot of steps to this process. 6 different colors to go into this paint to make this thing flop correctly. And it's gonna be so pretty. Back to work.
to look like they've been sanded because they have been. Whenever there's any little imperfections that are in the paint, or little particulates that get in the paint, you need to go back and you need to sand those off and make sure that everything inside is perfect. Then he goes back through and he lays down another coat of paint, he's able to fill that back in. So this is our second layer of paint, actual color. After this, he's got another layer of color he's going to lay down, and then it's going to be let it rest for a while and then throw clear coat on it. So there's still a couple of little imperfections still left in the paint, but it is getting really, really nice so far. Very impressive.
Put it in perspective, the difference between I painted it myself in the barn at home and a real serious paint job. This is a multiple hour, multiple step process. He's blending paint back in the paint room. He's coming out here and spraying it in the booth, all the proper ventilation, the ability to bake this stuff. I mean, this is some legit stuff, man. And, you know, it is expensive. This is not by any means cheap, but the quality of work you can get out of something like this is awesome. And what we're trying to build here is something beyond what most normal people would want to build. Most Lotus Esprits don't get this kind of treatment. Let's be honest, they're not $250,000 hot rods most of the time. Now this one, we'll see. Whether or not Tim ever decides to sell it, we'll see. But this thing is probably going to be one of the best out there. It's awesome to see this thing transforming. And we haven't even begun the fun parts about suspension and brakes and wheels and tires and engine work and exhaust work and all that stuff. So, pretty fun day. And I don't have to do any work today. All I'm just doing is watching Bear do awesome paint here at True Performance. Not a bad way to spend the day. So, time to let this layer of paint dry and then put down another layer. And then we're gonna let it chill. He and I are gonna go grab some lunch, and then it's gonna be on to clear coating. Long process. All right, so while I've been gone on lunch, Bear has been doing sanding. Sanding, and more sanding. Lots and lots of spots. Now this is normal when you're doing paint. You end up with little particulates, dust, even static can cause little bubbles or pockets or pimples or spots or whatever. There's all kinds of things that you're going to be able to go in here and clear out. And you want to get it done at this stage before it comes out of the booth, before anything gets a chance to get on this paint. You want to do this all right here, right now, while you have it in here. He's gone through all of the pieces and parts. Now, after this step, now that he's got everything cleaned up and sanded, he's going to go through and spot paint all of the places that he took off. And then we're going to let that sit and then come back to it and lay one more final coat over the entire thing. And then we've got one more phase of things to do. So we're almost done with color, but not quite yet. Next is going to be doing a little bit of spot painting in those little spots, and then we're going to move forward from there. Seeing the way this is done and how much work goes into this thing, this is just the finished side of it. This is not all of the prepping and priming and all the other steps. This is just the pretty part of it. The amount of work that goes into paint body is incredible. It really gives you a better understanding of why something like this costs a ton of money. A ton of money to paint. it's gonna be worth it, hopefully, in the end. It's definitely gonna look gorgeous. But man, is this a lot of work. Alright, so that's all done. Time to lay down a control coat. And this probably is going to be our last coat of color, we think. We'll see how it all turns out. As you normally would see with normal paint, but that's the top, basically the top coat that's going to be on there. Bear is going through and making sure everything looks beautiful. You can hopefully see in the video with the light especially on it that the metallic purple that's in the paint, it's really going to make this thing pop. He's going through making sure everything looks even, making sure everything looks nice, there's no imperfections in the paint, because if there is, this is the time you got to fix it. Otherwise, once you get past this, you got some big problems. So he's going over the entire car, making sure everything looks beautiful and perfect. And yeah, we let this thing rest one more time, and I think we're moving on to clear coat. So, thing looking gorgeous. It looks so good with gold accents all over it too. Yeah. Alright, so control coat is cured. Everything looks beautiful on that. Now it is time to lay down some clear. So this is when it starts getting real, real pretty. Timmy, getting your first chance to see this thing. What do you think?
Beyond excited, beyond stoked. I can't. Everybody that's been involved in this project so far has been unbelievably gracious. A couple of the comments on the first video were just how exorbitant the price must be for this, because I mean we're literally talking about weeks of work, and I cannot thank Randall and all the guys here enough for really taking on the project and charging me a very, very, almost, it's insulting to them. And I know that. I wrote an article in this issue of S3 magazine, just kind of talking about everybody that's involved in the process. When I first found this car, I really was thinking about it as, I don't know, literally, we should have gone your direction.
Yeah.
You wanted to put like starter fluid on and like let's just get it going. But it kind of has evolved into this full restoration, and everybody involved has been super gracious because I think they see I don't know, everyone's enjoying it. You guys are enjoying it. Subsequently, they're enjoying that you're enjoying it, and it doesn't suck. This could suck, I guess is what I'm saying.
This still can.
Looking at the inside of that car, like the outside looks great now, but looking at the inside,
there's not a car here.
There's no car. The body work looks great, but anyways, True Performance did an amazing job. Lucore in getting it here, even getting it to this point. Yeah. So much thanks and love goes to Rich and Austin and really everybody at Lucore, everybody at True Performance. And so now we kind of go to the next thing. The next thing for the body here is that it cures for a couple months over at Performance Auto Spa. Performance Auto Spa then sort of corrects the paint, gets the paint as flat as possible, and then I decide, do we wrap the whole car? Do we put PPF on the nose? I'm kind of against wrapping the whole car because it's so glistening and beautiful, and naked paint is just always the most beautiful. So one of the concerns I have, which doesn't have anything to do with Rich being competent or anything, it's just really hard to work on it without potentially damaging the paint.
And terrifying.
Oh yeah. So
for us,
we're gonna do what we can with the body off, and we'll get the frame sort of where it needs to be, the engine where it needs to be, and that's really what's going to happen next. I mean, I think in the near future we're going to pull the engine and hopefully we've got like a clutch and some gaskets and those sorts of things you saw from one of the beginning, I think the second video. I'm in talks with Southwest Lotus Center about some more stuff for it, and really at this point it's kind of become one of those things is what if I told you how much money, you would not do this. No one should do this.
No one should do this.
But you really, at this point, I guess the lesson for you, for me, for everybody, is that a restoration like this is when you're at Barrett-Jackson and they say they have $200,000. If all the labor was added up on this, I mean, there's just no question that it would be $200,000, and I wince even thinking about that. So, again, thank you to True Performance. Thank you to Lucore so far for charging me pennies on the dollar.
And a long way still to go.
Lots of pennies. I'm breaking that piggy bank.
Let's see what Timmy's got. You guys saw the paint job. You saw it getting laid down with Bear. Look at that thing. Look at this. Look how beautiful I look in that paint. Absolutely gorgeous. There were a couple of small spots that when they were finally putting down the layer of clear coat that you could still see a couple of spots. All those spots are absolutely gone. Even with a little tiny layer of dust from this thing sitting out right now, it still looks amazing. The paint that you picked.
This is what's crazy. Like, if you
looks like finished?
Yeah, if you remember what this looked like before, I would not have thought it would ever look like this.
Yeah. You have better finish quality inside the headlight buckets than you do on a lot of people's cars?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. The color choice on this, absolutely. With gold accents on this thing, because you're going to be hearkening back to his original Lotus that he did that was a black with gold accents. with gold accents on a black/purple car that color flops. This thing's gonna be amazing. And that man's excited. Terrified, but excited.
Both. Terrified and excited.
Well, there you go, guys. There's your finished product. At least this phase is finished. Next step is this gonna go back over to Performance Auto Spa, as Tim was saying, and it's gonna hang out there so we don't have a chance to damage it. And then we're gonna be going over there and picking up the chassis that's actually sitting there and taking the engine out of it, going through an engine teardown and engine rebuild, and then getting that back in the chassis, and then moving on to the suspension and brakes and all that kind of stuff, and then rejoining the chassis to the body. So
Then we're gonna drive it. We're gonna make boosty boost sounds.
yes. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a different process. This is definitely way overboard than what most people would ever imagine doing, even Tim. But hey, it gives you an interesting view behind the curtain as far as what actually goes into these things. The amount of time and energy that's involved in this is absolutely crazy. If you want to see the whole paint prep process, Tim actually put a video out on his YouTube channel a couple of days back, and I will link it in the cards up here above, so you can see kind of just how much work went into getting the body ready to even put paint on it. Because when we started this video, it was already primered and ready to rock. There was a whole lot of work that went into it just to get it ready to be able to put paint down on it, and then an entire day of paint. So yeah, tons of work with a whole lot more work ahead. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got this wonderful Lotus project, as well as all kinds of other crazy things that we do. Drop us a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this build and everything else, and how crazy Tim is.
I'm feeling your Celica build.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
watched the Celica build?
Yeah.
That thing's gonna be dope.
There's a lot of people who are loving that car.
That's cool.
Please do click on the like button. It lets YouTube know that you're actually paying attention and that you like what we do. We'll see you on the next one. Lots more work to do.